Good day from the White House. I'm Mark Knoller, CBS News, along with Marc Ambinder of National Journal. President Obama is back at the White House after making a quick trip to Northern Virginia Community College. The president went there for the first in a series of 3 town meetings this week in which he's making a pitch for his plan to reduce the deficit. President Obama delivered a lot of the same arguments he did in his speech last week at George Washington University, where he said it's time the United States gets its fiscal house in order. He made the point that he has differences with Republicans on this issue, but they both agree that about $4 trillion over 10 years in reduced spending and more revenue needs to be accomplished. He believes that a deal is possible with Republicans, even though Republicans are very critical of the president's plan. Mr. Obama said that he'll be combing the budget for savings where we can find it. He also made a point that wealthy people may need to pay more in taxes. In fact, he even made reference to his own tax return filed yesterday, in which he and the First Lady are paying $453,000 in income tax for 2010. President Obama said he looked at his tax reform and thought, there's a moment when you look at the figure that you're paying and say, wow, let me think about his position on taxing the wealthy. But he is not shy about taxing the wealthy. He again spoke about raising taxes on millionaires and billionaires, of which he is one, certainly a millionaire, although his taxable income in 2010 was about $4 million lower than it was in 2009. He is getting a lot less in book royalties. So the president also answered questions from students at Northern Virginia Community College about Social Security. He assured one middle-aged student that Social Security would be there for her when she is ready to retire. He said the bigger problem is with Medicare and Medicaid. And the president will be making similar arguments at town meetings later in the week in Palo Alto, California tomorrow, and in Reno, Nevada on Thursday. Now, as I said, I'm joined by Marc Ambinder of National Journal. Mark, what'd you make of the president's comments today?
Well, I thought they were very similar to his comments last week, which were somewhat partisan in their edge. I mean, this is a president who knows there has to be a bipartisan deal. Neither side is going to get everything that they want. But he went after Republicans in fairly stark language. He's really trying to frame a choice, I think trying to, very early on, nationalize the 2012 election.
In what way? What is he trying to make Republicans seem like they're going easy on rich people?
It's more that Republicans have made the choice to, instead of having the government try and squeeze out savings from Medicare, having the burden being spread across all different income groups, to take the duty for reducing costs and put it entirely on seniors for Medicare, because that's in one way what the Ryan plan does. It turns Medicare into a voucher system which incentivizes seniors themselves to pursue much less costly health care, much less health care. At the same time, the first 10 years of the Ryan plan are devoted to, or are pretty much predicated on, the extension of the Bush tax cut. So the White House argument is Republicans are sacrificing Medicare, an entitlement, part of the social compact, in order to give the wealthy a tax break. That's his argument. It's an argument that's reminiscent of the argument the Democrats used with some success in the 1990s. But the irony is that President Obama's own budget cuts Medicare, even more than Bob Dole proposed to cut Medicare by in 1996, for which Democrats hammered him. So there's a lot of overlap, and it's not as easy to make that distinction.
Is this a wedge issue that either side can try and use against the other in 2012?
I think you're already seeing it being a wedge issue for Republicans. I wasn't inclined to take Donald Trump as necessarily that seriously as a Republican presidential candidate, but I think he may run. And this morning he came out against the Ryan budget. And many Republican presidential candidates haven't fully embraced the budget because it's quite bracing. It's quite a very stark illustration of one set of philosophical values. So whereas Republicans are going to try and cast Democrats in House and Senate races who support the president's budget as not being serious about deficit reduction, that'll be their wedge. The White House will try to separate Republicans or try to force Republicans to accept the Ryan budget as much as they can.
If you were a betting man, would you bet that there will be a deficit reduction agreement this year?
I think there'll be some sort of deficit reduction agreement. I don't think it's going to be the big agreement. I think we're probably 2 to 4 years away from the big agreement. It's hard to see because everything has to be done kind of at the same time because everything affects each other. Tax reform, Medicare, Medicaid, spending reductions. Can they do all of that at once? I think the parties are way too far apart for them to do that. Can they do certain things? Can they agree, for example, on corporate tax reform? Certainly possible.
President Obama traveling the next 3 days out west, doing another town meeting on Wednesday in Palo Alto, California, at the headquarters of Facebook, the social network. He'll be there with Facebook's creator, Mark Zuckerberg, and then on Thursday in Reno, Nevada, making the same points, trying to score political points for his deficit reduction plan. On the sidelines of this, and the White House would prefer we not mention it, President Obama is also using this trip. He'll be doing 6 fundraisers for his re-election campaign while he's out in California, 3 in LA, 3 in San Francisco. And that's a big part of the reason he's going out there in the first place. At the White House, in the briefing room with Marc Ambinder of National Journal, I'm Mark Knoller, CBS News.